Yes, all of us know that in gymnosperms we have pollination by wind, that is anemophily, and the pollen through wind will drop on the ovule present in the female cone. Let it be on the same plant or let it be on the other plant. When the pollen falls on the female cone, in the female cone on the ovules, because at the end of the every scale leaf we have a prominent ovule which is placed inside. There is an interesting phenomenon called as pollen drop. Somehow the water influence in the fertilization is not completely ruled out in gymnosperms also, is what we can say. If you see the picture, you have the nucellus here, which are the spore producing cells in the ovule or megasporangium. All of us know. These are the ones which undergo meiosis to give me the embryo sac with archegonia. This one will secrete, the nucellus will secrete thick sugar solution. There is a difference between the normal water and a solution. A solution is thicker. Sugar solution. And if you see the structure, when nucellus secretes it through the gap, through the micropyle, the drop accumulates at the tip of the ovule. Whichever I am shading in red here is the drop. The secretion of the nucellus which accumulates at the tip of the micropyle on the surface of the ovule is pollen drop. If nucellus secreted, why should we call it as pollen drop? It is because when pollen is brought by wind, they get stuck to this drop. If not, they may get crossed away because of the complicated morphology of the cone. So it is like capturing them on a wet surface. Now the pollen will be stuck in the pollen drop. And how much time the pollen drop can sustain on the surface? Pollen stuck on pollen drop. When the pollen drop dries, it takes the pollen into the pollen chamber. So we have a separate space for the pollen to come into the ovule. We have a special mechanism by the ovule to capture the pollen. This is the reason in the structure we see there is a gap between integument and the nucellus. This gap is meant for pollen after retraction of pollen drop. Pollen enters pollen chamber. In pollen chamber, the pollen will start germinating. The sugar present in the pollen drop will help the germination of pollen tube into pollen tube. Please don't confuse pollen tube germination with seed germination. Pollen tube germination Got it? And then the gametes will fertilize the eggs in archegonia, which is placed towards the micropolar end. So this is the significance of pollen drop, pollen chamber in the ovule of gymnosperms.